Jeff Brown told us it was imminent, and now the day has arrived. As soon as June 1st, Elon Musk's next big breakthrough is set to go live. And it has to do with this vehicle parked right here on set with me. A fleet of self-driving robo-taxis, just like this, is about to hit the streets of Austin, Texas. And the automotive world is frankly abuzz with excitement. Experts actually believe this could unlock $9 trillion in value over the next few years. And yet, according to my guest today, the opportunity is actually bigger than we're being told, more than 10 times bigger. And joining me now to explain all of this is the man himself, Jeff Brown. Jeff, it's good to see you. I don't get to see you nearly as often, so this is a treat.
It really is. It's great to be back together. Thank you, Chris.
And what about this set?
It's fantastic, isn't it? I love it.
Great idea. It is. It's terrific. Yeah. So let me just start this off by saying, the mainstream media out there has been saying that robo-taxis, driverless cabs like this, were years away from becoming reality. But I want to point out that you said yourself, and accurately, it's just around the corner. And I can tell from the look on your face, you're absolutely thrilled that this moment has finally arrived. You're vindicated.
I really am. I couldn't be more excited. I mean, I've been talking about Tesla's robotaxi launch for years.
Yes.
And I put together a whole presentation last year saying the technology was ready for prime time. But, really, I've been testing and following and researching the self-driving technology since 2011, Chris. That's when I tried out the very first Google prototype of its self-driving car, which eventually became Waymo. And since then, I've been recommending investments in this particular field of technology. My readers have had the chance to see some fantastic gains over the years, but for now, for a small window of time, we actually do have the chance to get in front of the first nationwide rollout of a true self-driving car.
All right, so you hit the word true really hard. What do you mean by that, a true self-driving car? Because they've been around for a while.
Yeah, well, I mean a vehicle that is capable of driving on any road without any geographic restrictions, completely unsupervised. And so far, nobody has been able to create this. Waymo's vehicles can operate without a driver, but they're geo-fenced and limited to small, defined areas. Tesla's full self-driving software does not have those restrictions. It will be the first robotaxi capable of sweeping the nation.
Right. And is that what's expected to happen here? I mean, we're eventually going to see robotaxis in more places than just Austin, Texas.
Absolutely, right? Yes. So soon you should see them everywhere. I mean, the plan is to dot the entire country by next year and eventually the entire world. This is exciting on so many different levels. It's going to cut down on traffic. It's going to reduce traffic death by up to 90% and much more. And it's, of course, most exciting as an investor. It has the potential to deliver absolutely massive gains. And not just for Tesla, but for a whole host of other companies as well.
Right. Now, what makes you say that?
Well, because, Chris, we've seen this setup before. Back in 2010, Elon made a similar move. He created a revolutionary new kind of car and said it was ready to go public. And as you can imagine, there were skeptics just like there are today. I mean, after all, Teslas were different. They were all electric. They looked futuristic, and they were coming from an entirely new company, from a guy without a traditional automotive background. I mean, do you remember back then?
I do remember, and you're right. It was kind of hard. They were so new. It was so out there. It was kind of hard to wrap your brain around the concept.
But we know what happened next, right? Tesla started popping up all over California. I watched the whole thing unfold. Yeah. Then they spread to other parts of the country, and eventually the Model Y became the best-selling car in the world. Now, Chris, not just the best-selling electric vehicle, the best-selling car, period. Now, had you got ahead of this, the rewards would have been enormous. I mean, Tesla soared, Tesla's suppliers soared, lithium and battery companies, even competitors soared.
And we can actually see some of them on the screen here. So some very impressive results. Now, those were all companies that were, I guess, connected to Tesla in some way or other, right?
Yes, you see a big breakthrough like this. It just doesn't happen in a vacuum. All sorts of companies play a crucial role. And as long as you got in early before Tesla swept the nation, a small investment could have turned into huge gains, which of course, that leads me to today, Chris.
Right.
Once again, Elon's made a big Tesla announcement. A new automotive breakthrough is about to be rolled out, and it is set to sweep the nation by next year. And I believe it's going to play out like Tesla's previous rollout, only much, much bigger. And I'm not talking years down the road. Elon Musk himself says it could make 2025 the biggest year in Tesla history. So in other words, if you get ahead of it, you could see some of the biggest gains yet very soon.
Even bigger than what we saw last time.
Yes, that is 100% possible. And there are two reasons why I say that. So first, of course, we're dealing with Elon Musk. He has a history of minting millionaires. And second, because of the technology inside the robotaxi, Tesla's AI. Now, back when Tesla IPO'd, it was considered to be just an electric car company.
Right. Its cars did not have any AI inside.
No, not at the time of the IPO.
Okay.
I mean, Tesla, it hadn't developed its self-driving technology yet, but that was the plan. And I'm on record saying that Tesla's AI, its autonomous technology, might be the single most valuable invention in history. Now, at first glance, I know I can see it on your face.
Yes.
I mean, you're thinking that might sound like an exaggeration, but it is the foundation for both its full self-driving software for all of its vehicles, cars and trucks, and its Optimus humanoid robots. So once I break it down for you, you're going to see what I mean. It is amazing. And from the sounds of it, Elon feels the same way. He believes it's set to trigger the biggest asset value appreciation in history.
So Elon said that. So wow, biggest asset appreciation in history. So this AI must be, got to be something special.
It is. It is. It's going to open up so many doors. I'm talking about multiple trillion-dollar industries, and it all gets underway with the robotaxi launch.
So if I'm understanding you correctly here, this robotaxi launch is not just a car story. This is an AI story too.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
I mean, I'll be even more aggressive. It's not a car story at all. This is entirely about artificial intelligence and fully autonomous robotic technology. After all, what's an autonomous vehicle? It's a large robot on wheels. It's the first big example of what's often referred to as physical AI. And this is really the next phase of artificial intelligence. This is when AI leaves the worlds of, software-based chatbots and manifests itself in physical forms in the physical world. This is the big breakthrough that everyone's been waiting for. It's the next big leap after ChatGPT, according to NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang.
Right. So in other words, phase one of AI was the chatbots that you just mentioned, like ChatGPT. But thanks to Tesla's robotaxi, we're now talking about phase two.
Exactly. And
okay.
I hope you can see the potential here. I mean, when ChatGPT launched, it created an absolute mania. TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor, jumped as much as 279% since then. NVIDIA has soared as much as 1,232%. And Palantir, major AI company, jumped as high as 1,685%. And of course, there are many, many more examples. But now we have the next big AI breakthrough, something that NVIDIA believes could be a $100 trillion opportunity. And that is why there's so much urgency here. So if you want the chance at the biggest gains, you need to act now before the robotaxi rollout gets underway. And if you wait, history says you could be too late. And in some cases, you could lose half the potential profit or more simply by waiting. So that's why I'm coming forward now. This rollout will only happen one time in history, and I don't want anybody to miss out on it.
It's a good point. It only happens once. Now, let's go forward with that. What have you got prepared for all of us today?
Well, today, for the first time, I'm going to explain exactly what's going on, including the details on this new $100 trillion opportunity, and I'll break down the companies with the biggest potential. Tesla is incredible, but other smaller companies could soar even higher. I mean, they're trading for a fraction of Tesla, and I'll share the details, and I'll also break down some companies to avoid. I mean, like all breakthroughs, there will be big winners, and there's also going to be some big losers. And I'll highlight some stocks that you'll definitely want to stay away from. But best of all, you'll get the name of a top pick completely free just for being here. And I'll reveal its name and ticker symbol just a little bit later on.
All right, that sounds good, folks. As you can tell, Jeff Brown is going to come through for us here. You made a great choice to be with us today. I would just encourage you to put away any and all distractions out there. You got to be ready to act on Jeff's picks when he shares them. The robo-taxi launch is almost here. And as Jeff has said, if you want the chance at the biggest potential gains, you do need to act beforehand. So with that in mind, Jeff, let's jump right in. And I have so many questions here. Let me just say that I have seen some headlines like this. Robo-taxi will not live up to the hype. Right? And you're laughing already. But there are others out there, right? They're saying that Tesla is having a crisis right now. And I'm saying this in all seriousness. Elon is distracted with all the stuff that he's doing with the government and Doge and so on. So my point here is the mainstream press seems to think that Elon is all talk when it comes to the robo-taxi. But you just laid out a different scenario for us here. Doesn't seem like those two stories are jiving with each other. So tell us what's happening here. How do we reconcile these two things?
Well, you're right, Chris. I've seen all the headlines too. Of course, I track that every day. I mean, there is a lot of skepticism from the media right now. And of course, I'm smiling because it makes me happy to see that.
It's not bothering you.
It means people haven't caught on yet. We're ahead of the crowd. You see, it's hard for people to see where things are headed, especially when it comes to Elon and his companies, even the best investors in the world. People like Charlie Munger, they can miss it.
Charlie Munger, you're talking about Warren Buffett's right-hand man.
That's right. I mean, Munger passed away a few years ago.
Right.
But he had lunch with Elon back in 2009. And this was before Tesla went public. Elon pitched him on Tesla. Munger went on to tell the whole table all the ways Tesla would fail.
Oh, man. I did not know that.
And Elon, here's the interesting part. Elon actually told him that he agreed the odds were long. Tesla probably would fail, but he thought it was worth a try. Of course, Munger passed, and it ended up being an absolutely huge miss, one of his biggest mistakes. Since its IPO, Tesla has soared as much as 42,421%. Had Munger invested just $5 million, completely pocket change for him, he could have made Berkshire Hathaway and its investors as much as $2.1 billion, wow. Chris.
That is amazing. He had a chance to get in at the very beginning and he missed it.
I mean, can you imagine the regret he must have felt? I mean, what's crazy, he's not the only one. I recently sat down with Porter Stansberry, the founder of our parent company, MarketWise, and he is a great investor. He recommended Amazon and other tech plays back in the 1990s. And of course, some of those stocks have gone up 100x since then through the dot-com bust to today. I mean, truly visionary calls. Yet, Porter admits he missed Tesla.
Really?
And he absolutely did not think self-driving cars would ever actually happen. And he and I were on opposite ends of the spectrum about Tesla. I saw exactly the opposite, incredible potential. In fact, I described Tesla not as a car company like Porter did, but as one of the world's most successful artificial intelligence companies.
Yeah, that's actually speaks well of him that he admitted his mistake.
Absolutely, it is. And it shows you that even the smartest investors can have a hard time grasping Elon's vision. And listen, I mean, I get it. His ideas are on the bleeding edge. The idea that you could implant a chip and wire threads with more than 1,000 electrodes into the brain, and that you could use AI to read that person's brain signals to control the computer. I mean, it sounds completely crazy.
Science
fiction,
fiction,
right?
Yeah.
Yet that's exactly what Elon's company Neuralink has done. The first patient is able to control his computer cursor just with his thoughts alone. And Neuralink's value has gone from $0 to $8 billion, and it's just getting started. Or what about the idea that Elon could launch his own AI company, xAI, and create a rival to ChatGPT? I mean, when Musk launched it, the media, they laughed at it.
What'd they say?
Well, they said it was, and I quote, doomed to fail.
Gosh.
But Elon got the last laugh. Not only has his AI, which is called Grok, matched OpenAI's most advanced model and test. Elon achieved this in just 214 days.
Wow.
And XAI is now valued at $40 billion. Love him or hate him, there is no denying that Elon knows what the heck he's doing.
By the way, do you know, has he had any companies that absolutely tanked?
Well, it's funny. I mean, Elon considers his first venture, Zip2, a failure. But get this, Chris, he sold it for $307 million.
Oh.
He's founded or co-founded 8 companies, and combined, they've created over $2 trillion in value. I mean, he's created an army of Teslaionaires. Investing alongside him has proven to be one of the smartest investments that you could ever make. So a few years back, when I discovered that he was using AI to create full self-driving vehicles, I didn't hesitate.
Yeah.
I told my readers across my research services to invest.
All right. I'm sorry. When was that?
That was way back in early 2018.
Okay.
And I said that Tesla is not a traditional car company. It's an AI company with a huge lead on the self-driving trend. And I argued that it had the best electric vehicle battery technology in the world, the most advanced AI software for autonomous driving, and the future ability to launch a shared autonomous vehicle network.
Yeah. Now, how was that received?
With a lot of skepticism. I mean, the so-called experts, they thought Tesla was wildly overpriced and headed for a huge drop. I mean, Chris, I got a ton of blowback for recommending it.
Yeah.
But I am so glad that I did. Since then to today, Tesla has turned every $1,000 invested into as much as $24,336. And of course, I've continued to follow Tesla's progress up close.
Right.
I even leased a Tesla with full self-driving to test and evaluate every version of the self-driving technology firsthand. It is absolutely amazing. It accelerates, it brakes, it takes turns smoothly, it navigates complex situations with no interference from me. And every few weeks, Tesla releases a new software update,
right,
and the AI performs noticeably better. I no longer drive my Tesla, Chris. It drives me. I'm not kidding at all.
Well, now that you brought it up, we do have, I think, video of you sitting behind the wheel. I think it was of a Cybertruck, and you're blindfolded. What was the story there?
Well, it was incredible. I didn't have to do anything. It was just one of my crazy ideas. I sat there and I let the car do all the work, the AI do all the work. And I'm not the only one, Chris. I mean, since Tesla launched its autopilot system a decade ago, it's driven over 9 billion miles on autopilot. And it's proven to be nearly 10 times safer than a human driver. So on average, it drives 5.94 million miles between any kind of accident. And on top of that, Tesla passed 3 billion miles in full self-driving mode earlier this year. And my own estimates put that number well above 4 billion miles today. So that's enough to circle the globe 160,000 times on full self-driving. Of course, the number grows every day.
Right.
And by my own calculations, no later than May, Tesla could have driven more than 6 billion miles, 6 billion, Chris, on full self-driving mode without any intervention from the driver at all. Now that is a lot of training, and it's why Elon's finally ready to launch his robotaxi service. He believes it could make an even bigger splash than when he launched his original cars.
Right. And as I understand it, he's actually inspired a lot of others out there too. And given how big this opportunity is, there probably are other companies that are jumping into the robotaxi game, I assume.
Yes, absolutely. According to reports, the race to full-blown autonomy is underway. I mean, Amazon recently purchased a company called Zoox a few years ago. They've been developing fully autonomous vehicles, no steering wheel, no brake, not even a gas pedal. And these cars are already being used in Las Vegas by company employees for testing, and it's planning to open the service to the general public in 2025. Or take Waymo, which is a subsidiary company of Google. Waymo was the first to jump into this field, offering commercial services. And in certain parts of the country, its cars are operational already. Like I said, Waymo's approach has some limitations. that Tesla does not, and I'll explain why that matters in just a minute.
Okay.
But its work is still impressive. And it's planning to have robotaxis in Atlanta and Austin also this year. And that is just the start. Nearly every major car maker is working on self-driving technology now. And NVIDIA just announced that automakers are knocking at the door wanting to put its semiconductors into their cars.
That's interesting. So why NVIDIA? Are its chips required for self-driving technology? Are they essential in some way?
Yes, the GPUs, it is the key hardware component. And NVIDIA's Drive AGX chipset is like having a supercomputer in your car. And that's why Toyota, the world's largest car maker, is trying to get its hands on them. It's putting NVIDIA's chips into their cars to elevate automated driving capabilities to new heights. Mm-hmm. This year, it hopes to launch a self-driving system similar to Tesla's. Hyundai just partnered with NVIDIA too, and it's going to use its chips to test self-driving systems in the most difficult circumstances like extreme weather and heavy traffic. Mercedes, Porsche, Volvo, Rivian, and China's BYD have already made similar moves, and they are all in the race to launch autonomous vehicles. Even the Trump administration is pushing this forward.
Really? Why is that?
That's simple. China. Remember when DeepSeek shocked everyone with its chatbot?
Oh, absolutely. That was all over the news. But now how does that relate, though?
Well, China is trying to do the same thing with all our AI breakthroughs, and that includes things like robotaxis and self-driving. Remember, this isn't a car story. It is an artificial intelligence story.
Right.
The robotaxi opens the door to all sorts of physical manifestations of AI, so self-driving semi-trucks, shipping vessels, autonomous drones. That's why the U.S. wants to stay ahead of China.
So I have to ask you, what's the scorecard look like? I mean, how's China doing with their robotaxis?
Well, so far the U.S. is definitely in the lead, but China is close behind. As we speak, it's seeing significant growth and is conducting extensive road tests. Trump's Secretary of Transportation has already taken note.
That's right. Duffy, Secretary Duffy. We actually have a quote here. I think he said, "We can't fall behind China or other countries. We want to give a wide runway for these self-driving companies." So in other words, the Trump administration, as you just said, doing everything it can to push this robotaxi technology forward.
Yes, and it's easy to see why. I mean, we're talking about the most impactful invention since the Model T. That's how the investment community sees self-driving robotaxis. If we think about that statement, think about the implications of what that means. Imagine you could go back in time and invest before Model Ts were rolled out. That rollout created some of the largest fortunes in history. In today's dollars, Henry Ford was worth an estimated $188 billion. Wow. It helped John D. Rockefeller become the richest man of his day. Obviously, I'm not saying that will happen to you today, but it's just an example. Mm-hmm. It's no coincidence that Elon's work with robotaxis has helped him become the richest man in history. And now you have the chance to get in before the first nationwide rollout.
Okay, I'm hearing, and I'm liking what I'm hearing so far, Jeff. Let me just say, though, there is still this part of me, and I think there's some people out there that may feel the same way. I'm wondering if people are really going to adopt this. Are they going to be okay riding in these things? Aren't they going to be a little wary, a little frightened, of getting into a robotaxi? That's possible.
It's very reasonable to think that. But I will say this, once you experience this technology, I'm telling you, you are hooked. After taking just one ride, Bill Gates was converted. He said self-driving cars will be as revolutionary as the PC. And say what you will about Bill Gates, he knows the PC era.
Right.
It made Microsoft a $1 trillion company, and it sent hundreds of stocks soaring. The companies that supplied the key components to the PC industry and the technology that connected those PCs to the internet, like Intel and Cisco and others, they absolutely skyrocketed. Now the man who launched that era believes that we're about to see it happening again with self-driving cars. But the same thing happened to Clay Travis.
With the radio host.
Yeah, that's right. After trying out a robotaxi, look at what he said.
All right, and I can read this. He said, this is the most impressed I've been by a new technology since the first time I saw sports on HD television a generation ago. So feels like a total game changer. Impressive.
Well, he went on to say that he's going full driverless as soon as he can. And as for safety, these cars have been safer than human drivers for years. And Tesla's safety on full self-driving improves every month. And on their current trajectory, they'll eventually be orders of magnitude safer than human drivers. Again, I'm not saying there won't be any hesitation, Chris.
Right.
There always is.
Sure.
But I think people will get over it very quickly. And that's exactly what happened with Uber as another example. People forget Uber was revolutionary. I mean, the idea of using your car like a taxi in your spare time, it seemed crazy.
That is a very good point. I remember the very first time somebody told me about Uber, it did seem so strange. A stranger is just going to pick me up in their car? That was very odd.
There were a lot of skeptics back then,
Yeah.
and there was pushback. I mean, people talk about the hurdles for robotaxis. It was the same thing with ride hailing. When Uber launched in San Francisco, authorities threatened them with fines and even prison time if they didn't stop. And later on, there were lawsuits, there were protests, but nothing could stop them. Jeff Bezos became an investor. Google and BlackRock poured money in, and before long, they were operating in 250 cities. And then, of course, as we know, everywhere, right? And this made Uber investors an absolute fortune. Since Uber didn't IPO for years, much of its growth happened as a private company, but it's gone from a $5.4 million valuation to as much as $167 billion.
Now, there were other companies in Uber's ecosystem, let's call it. Did they benefit too? Did they soar?
Yes. I mean, remember, a big breakthrough requires suppliers and distributors and technology platforms.
Right.
It creates competitors. Related industries are impacted. Uber, for example, has expanded into e-commerce, food delivery, and more. You may have used it.
That's right.
And Uber has soared, and these other companies and industries have soared too. So had you gotten in early, you could have seen gains as high as 1,401%, 2,798%, and even 13,857%. Now, keep in mind, compared to what Tesla's doing now, Uber was nothing.
It was small scale in comparison. It was a smaller breakthrough.
Yes. As one professional investor says, very few technologies fundamentally impact the way we all live, but self-driving cars are poised to be one of the few. In fact, in an ironic twist, Uber is making partnerships and getting into robotaxis itself, which is something that I've been talking about for a very long time.
Let's talk about the practical for a minute. Talk to us about how Tesla's robotaxis are actually going to work. Give us a day in the life of kind of thing.
Well, it'll be just like hailing an Uber. You should see some images on the screen now. Now, you'll open the app on your phone, hail a robotaxi, and that's it. Just like the car we have here, it'll show up, and eventually it will be robotaxis with no steering wheels or pedals at all.
God, it's kind of mind-blowing. Let me ask you about regulatory, let's call them hurdles. Are there still a bunch of hoops that have to be jumped through here?
Well, no. In Austin, as long as they are registered and insured, there's nothing in the way. You see, Tesla has already driven more than 4 billion miles on full self-driving. Tesla calls it supervised, FSD. And as long as the passenger in the front seat is paying attention to the road, they don't even need to touch the wheel. Now, from a regulatory standpoint, this is already permitted. All that remains is regulatory approvals for unsupervised autonomous vehicles, which means that passengers can take a nap if they like. They no longer need to pay attention to the road. Now, Tesla expects regulatory approval for unsupervised rides first in Texas, with many states to follow after that. And they've been working with Austin officials since last May. In fact, politicians want them. They see the opportunity here. They want to promote the industry. From Texas Tesla plans to go to California and many regions of the country this year, and eventually they'll be all over the globe.
Yeah. So from the sounds of it, for the past several years, basically, the groundwork has been laid for this. So companies like Tesla have been pouring billions into the technology. Obviously, they've been fine-tuning it, perfecting it. You say every time they update the software, it's a noticeable difference. Now we're here, 2025. This is the year that it's finally going to reach widespread adoption. It's going to hit the general public.
Yes,
that's what we're saying.
NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang put it well. At the start of the year, he said the autonomous vehicle revolution is here. I certainly agree with him. And I hope that you can see the implications here, Chris. It opens up so many money-making possibilities. As the Motley Fool says, this will affect every sector of the economy. For example, going forward, Tesla owners will be able to rent out their cars to generate extra money.
I was so hoping you were going to go there. I remember you just briefly mentioning that. I think it was in your presentation.
That's right.
Talk to us about how that works.
Well, I mean, let's think about it. 95% of the time, a car is idle.
Right.
We take it to work. It sits in a parking lot all day. But if a car can drive itself, it can be put to use. You can rent it out. If you live near an airport, it could be picking up and dropping people off all day long while you're at work. The Tesla believes you could make $30,000 a year this way.
The car is going to earn you money. Now, let's talk. Is it Tesla's robotaxi going to cost, what's the price point? It's less than $30,000, right?
Yes, a robotaxi could become a money-making machine, literally. And that's not all. Just think about the money that you could make while you're riding in the car. Every year, Americans, you spend about 93 billion hours behind the wheel.
Wow.
That whole time, they have to be focused on the road, occupying their time. That's 7 40-hour weeks per year. Just imagine if you got all that time back, Chris.
Right. Yeah. Time is money. So that's almost 2 work months, 7 40-hour weeks. So that's amazing. Being stuck in traffic could be a good thing. I mean, that's what we're kind of saying here. You could work, you could trade, invest, you could get lots of things done, right?
Absolutely. I mean, once you start thinking about it, the possibilities are almost endless. You apply this technology to transportation, to logistics, to shipping, to food delivery. And we're not talking billions of dollars. We're talking trillions of dollars. And look, I know it's hard to see all of this now. And if you're not knee deep in this technology like I am, it can be hard to wrap your head around.
And that's a good point too. This is bleeding edge technology. Not all of us live in that world the way that you do. You have to hold these ideas up and look at them from different angles. And that's what threw, I guess, Munger off. This can be a lot to digest.
Absolutely. So when it comes to investing beforehand, there's a natural resistance. Believe me, I understand it. I've seen the same thing with a lot of my big winners. I mean, when I published my first special report about Bitcoin, calling it a breakthrough idea, I am sure people had similar thoughts. Right. I mean, this was back in the summer of 2015. People thought Bitcoin was a hype. It was doomed to fail. The same things that we hear about Tesla's robotaxi. But anybody who ignored the noise could have seen their financial future completely changed. And since I published that report, Bitcoin has soared up to as high as 45,000%. Had you invested just $500 back then, that could be worth as much as $225,000.
If only.
Now, obviously, that's an exceptional return, but I believe what's about to happen with autonomous driving is on par with that breakthrough. And that's why U.S. News calls this a can't-miss long-term investment. Those who bet on early leaders could be handsomely rewarded. And here's the best part, Chris. If this were the whole story, it would be enough. It would be a $9 trillion opportunity, but it's not the whole story. Like I said, there's a whole other piece to this.
Right. You did say there's the potential here for it to be much bigger.
More than 10 times bigger, Chris. You see, Tesla's robotaxi is the first big manifestation of something called physical AI. Now, this is the next big thing in AI, and the robotaxi launch puts Tesla in the lead.
All right, let's pause for a minute. Can you explain to us what exactly is physical AI? What do you mean when you say that?
Well, so far, artificial intelligence, it's been largely confined to software solutions, chatbots like ChatGPT.
Right.
Well, this is phase one of the AI boom. And, we're still in it. And it's been absolutely incredible. It's turned NVIDIA into one of the biggest companies on earth. All the large cap AI plays have absolutely soared, and smaller plays that I recommended years ago, like AMD, have soared too. Now, everybody's wondering, of course, what comes next?
Right.
Well, the answer is physical AI. This is when AI leaves the software world of chatbots and manifests itself in a physical way. So according to Forbes, this is when AI changes the world.
See, and I'm just embarrassed. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around ChatGPT, and here you are telling us we're moving beyond that, Chris. I'm behind.
Well, I know, and I'm sure you're not the only one. You shouldn't feel bad. This is what happens with a technology that's growing exponentially. The breakthroughs, they come quickly. Mm-hmm. Physical AI is Silicon Valley's new big focus today. That 2025.
Right.
I am talking about companies like NVIDIA. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang said the company is shifting its focus from generative AI, like ChatGPT, to physical AI. And he puts its total worth, get this, at a potential $100 trillion.
So that $100 trillion figure, that's not yours. That comes from NVIDIA.
That's right. That's how much money they believe this next phase is going to unlock. Now, let me put that in context. Right now, NVIDIA is worth around $3 trillion. And combine the market cap of the Magnificent Seven companies, all the big AI companies, recently hit nearly $20 trillion. So let's be generous and assume that entire amount is due to AI, which it's not. That means that the amount of money up for grabs today could be 5 times bigger.
Amazing. And you're saying that Tesla's robotaxi launch is the beginning of this physical AI phase 2.
Yes, it's the first big physical AI breakthrough. After all, the vehicle, it's basically a very large computer that happens to have 4 wheels. And the AI powering it can be used in all kinds of other physical applications. So I'm talking about robots in factories, so robotic automation systems in warehouses with robotic arms, and eventually humanoid robotic assistants that can even do something like putting away your groceries, Chris.
Yeah, okay, but see how? I mean, how do you transfer the robotaxi AI to these other devices you just mentioned?
Well, yes. I mean, autonomous technology designed to navigate a large robot, in this case, a car, in the real world. Of course, it can apply to other kinds of robotic devices that also need to navigate the real world. I mean, this is already happening. Tesla has a humanoid robot, Optimus, and the foundation of Optimus's autonomous technology was, in fact, Tesla's full self-driving software. Now, of course, Tesla is now optimizing that software for industrial, consumer, and eventually healthcare applications. Optimus already works at Tesla offices. It can climb stairs. It can carry heavy loads. It can even handle something as delicate as an egg without breaking it. And there are videos of Optimus serving food and drinks to Tesla's staff.
That is really crazy. Honestly, I did not realize you could use the same AI.
Well, that's part of Elon's genius. It's the reason that he's had so much success across his AI companies. He's able to leverage a breakthrough in one product and apply it to another one. And that's why I believe his AI could be the most valuable invention in history. Now, when I told my readers that last year, I'm sure it sounded like an exaggeration.
It sort of does. I mean, there have been a lot of great inventions out there, right, Jeff?
That's right. But I chose the word valuable for a reason. It opens the door to the $100 trillion in value that physical AI is projected to unlock. And we are at the very beginning of this phase. It's going to be absolutely massive. Now, Tesla's AI could be adapted to drones, to delivery robots, to electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, aircraft of any kind, home robotic assistants. There are so many possibilities. And I'm not saying that you're going to see all these things immediately, but the robotaxi launch, it's the beginning. And it's why Elon thinks 2025 could be the biggest year in Tesla's history. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang has a similar prediction. He thinks autonomous vehicles will be the first multi-trillion-dollar physical AI breakthrough.
All right. So just to summarize here, the first phase of AI, call it the chat GPT phase, obviously that was huge.
Yep.
Created 500,000 millionaires out there, I think. But now we're about to see the next leap, and it's a big one. AI is about to jump from the virtual world and the screen interface that we're used to seeing on a computer to the physical world. And it's starting with robotaxis.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And that's why the big automakers are making deals with robotics companies. Hyundai's partnership with NVIDIA isn't just about cars. It's also to create robots in their warehouses. Aptronic, an Austin-based robotics company, is commercializing its technology with Mercedes-Benz. Figure AI, another robotics play, is doing the same with BMW. And of course, Tesla is already using Optimus in its factories and offices. In other words, the robotaxi is just the start. There's another layer to this, of course. Elon is paving the way for the next phase of AI development.
Yeah, which I shouldn't be surprised that he leads all the moves to physical AI at this point. He's always appears to be 2 steps ahead, that's for sure.
Well, he is, and there's always another layer with his strategies. So in the late 90s and early 2000s with PayPal, people thought he was just co-creating a fintech company. I mean, that's what it looked like on the surface, but there was another layer to it. He was really trying to revolutionize the banking industry. With SpaceX on the surface, he was just creating a rocket company, right? But really, he was enabling the new space economy, satellite-based broadband internet available anywhere on Earth, a space-based world wide web, literally, and more. And it's the same with the robotaxi. On the surface, it's a self-driving car breakthrough, but really, he's ushering in physical AI. Now, I'm sure you can see the implications here. And if you're an investor, this is the kind of opportunity that you dream about. As we've seen, if you can get in early on a true breakthrough like this, especially one involving somebody like Elon Musk, I mean, the sky is the limit. His companies have created trillions of dollars in value. All sorts of investors have had a chance to become millionaires. And now his next breakthrough could be the biggest yet.
We do have a quote, interesting quote from Yahoo Finance about that very subject, which says, while the future of autonomous and other physical AI will be exciting from a tech capability standpoint, it could also be lucrative for investors. So obviously they're on the same page. They seem to believe, as you do, that this is a chance to make money as well.
Yes, absolutely. And right now we can get in at the very beginning.
All right. Great stuff, fascinating, and you always open my eyes. It's hard for me to hold something up and look at it the same way you do. But I follow the news, right? I mean, I see Elon's face all over the place, just like anybody else out there. But here I am. I didn't realize the larger implications of the robotaxi launch. It takes Jeff Brown to show me that.
Well, you're far from alone, Chris. I mean, the mainstream media simply can't figure Elon out. I mean, I hear these claims like he's distracted with Doge,
right?
He's becoming too political. I mean, from the beginning, they've never been able to see the bigger picture. When Elon co-founded OpenAI back in 2015, few could see where it would lead to. And that wouldn't become clear for years. But fortunately for my readers, I recommended NVIDIA within months of OpenAI's founding. And most people thought it was a niche gaming company at the time.
Right.
And that's what its chips were primarily being used for. It was hard to see that there was another layer to NVIDIA. And I'm so glad I recommended it when I did. Anybody who bought in then could be up as much as 23,000%.
That's absolutely crazy. And I know that you're not saying that we're going to see this exact kind of market gain again. I mean, that is an exceptional example. But I guess it does sound like you're saying we're kind of in a similar position this time around with physical AI. The ball's teed up here.
Yes, we are. Bits and pieces of this story are obviously floating around, but we have put all the pieces together. Tesla is a secretive company, as we know. And if you don't know how to read between the lines and understand the technology, you won't know what's actually going on. And of course, that's where I have an advantage. I worked at billion-dollar tech companies in the upper echelons of Silicon Valley. companies like Qualcomm, Juniper Networks, and NXP Semiconductors. I spent 2 decades in the tech markets in Asia, and I've also been studying Tesla, of course, as you know, for many years. And I've uncovered the real story behind the robotaxi, which is why I'm coming forward now. I believe it's about to propel us to the next phase of AI growth. I mean, just think about what happened when ChatGPT kicked off the last phase. Taiwan Semiconductors jumped as much as 279%. NVIDIA soared as high as 1,232%. Palantir jumped up 1,685%. And they're just a few examples. There were dozens of opportunities for triple and quadruple digit gains. You could have made as much as 253% with C3 AI, another favorite of mine, up to 1,019% with Vertiv. And from AppLovin, a stock that I recommended way back in 2021, you could have made as much as 3,221% if you had held on through today. But now we're on the cusp of something that could be 5 times bigger. Are you starting to see why I had to be here, Chris?
Definitely, I am. It is, as you said a minute ago, it's starting to come together.
Well, this is why I've been pounding the table on this technology for years. This is why I blindfolded myself behind the wheel of a Tesla. As Elon says, what's coming could lead to the biggest asset value appreciation in history. That kind of thing could change your financial future. And that's why I put together a series of picks, and I want everybody watching today to have a chance to get ahead of this.
And we will get to those picks in just a second, Jeff, which is going to include the names of a top bearish pick and a bullish pick as well. You know what, though? Indulge me for a minute. I want to run through. It's time for me to put on my my devil's advocate hat for just a second. Let me run through a few objections. I can think of 3 that I want to pose to you and put you on the spot. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. A market crash. So far this year, the market has been on a roller coaster, no doubt about that. I am starting to see some people out there who I think are talking in good faith. They're predicting a market crash as early as next year. Could that throw a monkey wrench into the works here?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Chris. I expected you would. The answer is no. And this is a common misconception. Market crashes or market volatility, which is what we're seeing right now, it does not stop or even slow down technological advancement. Just think about all the breakthroughs that we've had over the past 30 years. The internet, smartphones, blockchain technology, artificial intelligence. During that time, we've seen several major crashes, some of the worst in history. Now, I have to ask you, have these crashes slowed down technological progress?
You bring up a good point. I would have to say no, they probably haven't.
Well, what's more, Elon has a lot of experience with crashes going back to his early days. I mean, PayPal was founded in 1998. I mean, that was a terrible time to launch a company right before the dot-com bust.
That's true.
Hundreds of companies were about to go belly up, yet because PayPal was so groundbreaking, it not only survived, but it ended up going public right after and making investors rich. Still public today. So no, I am not worried. And as far as this recent bout of market volatility, it's from uncertainty around the impact of tariffs and trade agreements. These tariffs are being used simply to negotiate more fair and balanced trade agreements, which we have not had.
Okay. All right. Next objection. What about a timing delay here? Is it possible that Tesla's robotaxi launch gets pushed back somehow for any number of reasons?
Well, it's not impossible that there might be some short delays, but I can tell you from my own personal testing, research, and analysis, this technology is ready to go. It is nothing short of remarkable already, and it continues to improve every single month. And keep in mind, last year, Elon, he set out to build the biggest data center in the world. And this process normally takes anywhere between 3 to 6 years. Elon had it up and running in just 4 months. So when Elon puts his mind to something, he and his teams can make it happen very fast. But still, let's just say that it's delayed. And if that happens, good. That just means we're even earlier than expected. You see, fully autonomous, unsupervised robotaxi without any geographic restrictions. It is coming. It's not a matter of if, just when. So the earlier you get in, the better. Now, my NVIDIA recommendation is a great example. Since I recommended it in February of 2016, it's never been that cheap since. The stock has gone higher and higher. In other words, all those who invested later made less money. Now, that's why you want to act now.
All right. That's two. And that makes total sense. Last one I can think of.
Okay.
Is there another company out there that could beat Tesla to the punch?
I do not see that happening either. I mean, Tesla took a radically different approach than every other company in the world when it comes to self-driving. It chose to make a vision-based autonomous driving system, something everyone else said was impossible, and yet it has succeeded. Musk and his team at Tesla proved that the only way to enable unsupervised, fully autonomous driving without any geofencing is using a neural network based entirely on vision. And no one else has even begun to attempt that in the industry. Tesla is literally years ahead of the competition. Take GM. It's the largest traditional car maker in America. GM wanted to launch its own robotaxis, and it actually bought Cruise, a self-driving car company, and poured, get this, Chris, $10 billion into it. It worked on a robotaxi for years, and last December, it gave up. GM said it couldn't keep up with the competition, and it shut down its Cruise division.
That's saying something. GM couldn't build its own robotaxi.
No, I mean, Tesla's AI is unique. Full autonomy based on vision alone is a proprietary secret to Tesla. Right. Nobody else has anything like it. I mean, Waymo has achieved great things, and as we speak, people are riding in driverless Waymos daily. But Waymo relies on a technology called geofencing, and this is where you create a very precise, detailed map of the areas that you're going to operate in.
Right. Does that work?
It does, but it's time-consuming, it's expensive, and it's very limiting. I mean, the car can't leave a specific area. The system simply cannot scale quickly at all.
I'm with you. It is fenced in.
Exactly.
Okay.
So far, Waymo only operates in a few areas. They can't even cover all of Los Angeles, just a subset. And its current pace, it's going to take forever to build out across the country. And Tesla, it is completely different. Its AI relies on cameras alone, and it's able to operate across the country on any street, anywhere. And that's why after its initial trial in Austin, Tesla plans to grow the robotaxi business rapidly from there. And we're seeing this come to life with Elon moving its headquarters to Texas, and of course, SpaceX as well.
Yeah. Well, I served you up 3 fastballs and you hit them out of the park there. Through what I thought were 3 tough questions. If I come up with a good curveball, that's coming your way
I'll
too.
Be ready.
No, you cleared things up very nicely. And I tell you what, with that in mind, let me just get probably the most important question here. How do we make money from this opportunity? It could be starting as soon as early June. And for those of you who are joining late, let me just run down here. We are knocking on the door of Tesla's robotaxi launch here. First rollout of a true self-driving car. The last time that Tesla made a big move like this, it created a whole group of Teslionaires, right? That's what you said earlier. But that, companies connected to Tesla delivered massive gains. Now, Jeff is saying this rollout could be an order of magnitude bigger than that. And he's identified the companies that could see the biggest gains yet, which includes the name of one of his top picks. So explain this for us, Jeff. How do we make money from this, practically speaking?
Well, it's not buying Tesla. And believe me, Tesla is a wonderful company and it has a very bright future, but it's already massive, right? It would take a lot for it to grow 10x from here, for example. So I recommend smaller companies connected to this new breakthrough. This is a very proven formula.
All right, can you give us some examples?
Well, take what happened with Air Test Systems. This is a company that tests silicon carbide semiconductors, which are used in electric cars. Now, on an earnings call in July 2021, Air announced that it was working with a leading Fortune 500 automotive company. Now, The CEO didn't say who, but he went on to mention Tesla 11 times on the call. Shortly after Tesla announced that it was now using silicon carbide chips.
Yeah, what a coincidence, right?
Right. Well, as you can imagine, Air shares, they soared, and over the next 2 years, they jumped as much as 1,810%.
Wow. Okay, so by investing in a company connected to Tesla ahead of a big Tesla move, obviously you could have made more than, 18 times your money?
Yes. And Chris, this isn't just a one-off example. When Tesla launched, it helped spark a whole lithium boom. Albemarle is a longtime Tesla supplier. Had you got in early and held on for the long haul, you could have made as much as 20 times your money. And there are lots of examples like this. There's even a name for this phenomenon, the Musk effect.
Musk, I've heard that before. Now, do you have to be a direct supplier to feel that Musk effect?
No, not necessarily. And that's one of the best parts. As long as you're in the ecosystem, that's enough. So Patriot Battery Metals, for instance, is connected to Tesla through Albemarle, which is a major lithium mining company. And that connection was enough to help it soar as high as 10,324% in just 2 years. Chris, that turns a $1,000 investment into more than $100,000.
That's very interesting. 2 degrees of separation, and it still went up big. So all these companies were riding essentially Elon's coattails through this process in one way or another. And in some cases, they were the ones that delivered some of the biggest gains of all.
That's exactly right. Now, of course, these gains are all in the past, but I found a handful of new companies, and they're in a similar position to these past picks. One of them is a key player in AI autonomous vehicles and manufacturing. Like Tesla, it is a pioneer in this field. In fact, because of its groundbreaking work in this space, it's drawing comparisons to Tesla. So like Elon, its founder is a serial entrepreneur. He made his fortune in a related industry, but then he saw an opportunity with autonomous vehicles and he jumped in. And get this, remember how Air partnered with a leading Fortune 500 company?
Right, which was what launched it higher, right?
Yes. So my top pick also has partnered with a leading Fortune 500 company. And I believe it has the potential for a similar growth phase. Now, fortunately, it's still almost completely unknown. On the surface, most people wouldn't connect it to what Tesla is doing, and that's what has allowed it to fly under the radar.
So I would assume that means it's smaller than Tesla. It's got to be.
Well, much smaller. It's around 1/66th the size of Tesla.
Whoa.
And I bet not even 1 in 100 investors have ever heard of it. So once the robotaxi launches, I expect it to deliver massive gains. And it's not the only one. I found a few other companies too.
Really? So are they also positioned well to maybe ride this new AI growth phase to the top?
Absolutely. I mean, my second pick reminds me of NVIDIA back when I originally recommended it.
Okay.
It's trading around the same market cap NVIDIA was, and people think that they understand it. But the truth is, nobody's figured out how it's connected to the robo-taxi launch.
So it's the same way that people thought NVIDIA was the niche gaming company, right? Not an AI play. That same thing is happening with this company you're talking about now?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
In order for self-driving cars to take off, this company's technology could be essential. The same thing for my last pick. It's in a similar position, only it's even smaller. So once people put all the pieces together, these companies could soar for years. But here's what I want everyone to remember. If you're planning to invest in them, and if you want the chance at the biggest potential gains, please don't wait. If you do, you're running a huge risk. So here's why I say that. Elon believes the launch of full self-driving cars, i.e. robotaxis, could create the next ChatGPT moment. Now, if he's right, you'll want to get ahead of it. You can see that in this example.
Okay. We're taking a look at it. What is this? A chart of NVIDIA?
Yes, it's NVIDIA stock around the time of ChatGPT's launch. Now, had you invested right then, you could have made as much as 1,232% in just 2 years. But here's the thing, Chris. That would have been your last chance for that type of return. Had you waited, you would have taken a big haircut.
Wow. Just by waiting that amount of time, you miss out that much?
Yes, and within just a few months, more than half the potential profit is gone.
Yeah, and it just gets worse from there, it looks like.
That's right. I mean, the longer that you waited, the smaller the potential profits became. In other words, imagine you had the chance to get in ahead of ChatGPT, but you thought, well, I'm going to wait. This is too far out on the bleeding edge for me. I'm just going to hold off. You would have missed out on one of the best stocks of the past few years, Chris.
I heard that phrase in there, the bleeding edge.
You picked up on that.
I did. And you know what? You kind of described my mindset just then. So let me ask you, was this just sort of a one-off example?
No.
That you're coming up with?
Not at all. I mean, the same thing happened with TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. ChatGPT's launch helped it become one of the largest and most important companies in the world. Had you gotten in ahead of launch, you could have nearly quadrupled your money. But can you guess what happened next, Chris?
You're going to tell me that would have been my last chance to get in at that price.
Yes. Had you waited, you lose out on nearly a third of what you could have made. And eventually, you're left with basically nothing.
Which is really wild. I mean, I knew that getting in early was important, but I had no idea there was such a big difference between getting in early versus getting in late.
Yes, that's exactly why I am here today before the launch to give a final warning.
Right.
So if you can feel the sense of urgency from what I'm saying, but you're thinking, maybe I'll wait. I want to see how this plays out first. You could be taking a huge risk. Even if you just put a small investment in my new recommendations, that could be enough.
All right. Flat out, how do we get our hands on these latest picks that you've just sort of described for us?
Well, I prepared a special report, and you see, I can't go into more details about my new picks today. There are people online who go to great lengths to swipe my recommendations, and honestly, that's not fair for my paid members.
Right.
So my team and I have put together a comprehensive write-up on them. It's called How to Get Ahead of the $100 trillion AI Revolution.
How to get ahead of the $100 trillion revolution. Now, I assume that does include names and tickers of all of these stocks, buy up to prices, full write-ups, the whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards, yes.
Excellent.
And I will tell you everything that you need to know, including the names and ticker symbols, of course. And as you'll see, they are connected to Elon's latest big breakthrough in a way that most people haven't figured out yet. And as long as you act on them now, you are positioned for the biggest potential gains.
And how do we get our hands on that report?
All right. Well, I'm about to send it out exclusively to members of my flagship research service, Exponential Tech Investor. However, I've arranged a special deal for this service today. Anyone who joins me right now will be among the first to access it.
Right. So let me just speak to you watching. If you have not heard of Exponential Tech Investor, you are in luck. That's all I can tell you. This is Jeff's flagship technology research service. When he started sharing his Silicon Valley insights, this was the service that he launched. Jeff has led his readers to the #1 stock in the entire S&P 3 times. That's incredibly rare. I mean, the odds of doing it once are 0.2%. Doing it 3 times, almost impossible. But that's exactly what his readers have had a chance to do. I've never seen anything like that, Jeff. I had to make that point just so they understood that.
Well, thank you. I'm just happy that I've been able to share my research, these picks, with everyday folks. And even another year, I don't know if you remember this, but I picked the #1 tech stock in the S&P. It was the #3 stock overall.
Right.
And just last year, one of my picks from 2021, AppLovin, went on to become the #1 stock in the NASDAQ 100. Now, from those picks alone, anybody who held on for the long haul could have made as much as 2 times, 7 times, even more than 10 times their money.
And that's not even counting NVIDIA, which I think we mentioned earlier. It's up as much as 23,000% since Jeff recommended. Of course, not every pick is a winner. Obviously, all investments do carry risk. Past performance doesn't guarantee future success, but you need to know that across his services, Jeff has delivered 27 triple-digit winners. And people have written to tell us how his recommendations have genuinely impacted their lives. I'm going to brag on you for just a minute.
Okay.
Let me read these to you. This comes from Wayne P. Nice way to end the year with a gain on Intelia, NTLA. I booked a shade over 5x gain on your recommendation. And the best part is I made the investment within my Roth So it's tax-free.
That's fabulous.
It is. Steve S. wrote in as well. Good stuff, Jeff. It's hard to get good information about the tech space unless you're an insider. I wouldn't know anything about where technology was headed without your input. And this, folks, is just a very small sample. I could go through a whole lot more. And you're smiling right now. It's got to make you feel good to hear feedback like this.
It is.
Right?
It is so rewarding to get feedback like that. And of course, it's an amazing motivation for me to just keep at it and working hard. It makes it all worth it to me.
And what's amazing is that when these people joined, they had to take you on faith, right? That's not the case now. We have the proof. We have the testimonials. And when you join today, you will start getting Jeff's latest ideas every single month. Now, as you can imagine, when you have a service like Exponential Tech Investor, a membership is not going to come cheap. And that's because the opportunities that you're going to find there aren't the kind of thing that you're going to find on the internet for free. Jeff, and we mentioned this earlier, Jeff did spend more than 2 decades working as an executive in Silicon Valley and in Asia. He has studied at top academic institutions in America, in Europe, Asia. He's invested in several hundred private deals, including several unicorns and decacorns. And he also spends thousands and thousands of dollars every month performing boots on the ground research, employing a top-notch research team. And what's more than all of that, those who followed his best ideas, like that NVIDIA call, have had a chance to make more than 200 times their money. So really, $5,000 is a bargain. However, because of how urgent the opportunity is right now, and because of how much bigger the potential is if you act now, Jeff, as he alluded to a few moments ago, has arranged a special offer. Anybody who joins today can get started for just $2,500, a massive 50% discount off of the retail price, folks. You know what you could do? You could take that savings and invest it in Jeff's picks that he's going to send you. And if they do half as well as some of his past ones, you could more than cover the cost of membership. Are there any strings attached to this, Jeff? I mean, as long as people act now, they can lock in this deal, right?
Yes, that's right. I mean, the only catch is that it's only available for a limited time.
Okay, that's good to know. You heard what he said. The point here is don't wait. That's where the risk is, waiting. Don't wait. There should be a button appearing on your screen. Go ahead and click on that now, and you can get started right away. That'll take you to a completely secure enrollment form, and you can place your order once you get there. It's the easiest and the fastest way to get in. Simple, straightforward, only takes a minute. And don't worry, that page will open in a new tab so that you can keep listening to our conversation here. If you prefer, you can call in. Just call the number on your screen. And before we get to the Q&A, something we hadn't actually mentioned up at this point, I want to mention a few more benefits that you're going to get as a member. First of all, there is a bonus report, how to profit from the unseen robotics revolution. Jeff, tell us about that.
Well, as we discussed, the robo-taxi launch marks the beginning of phase 2 of the AI boom. And this has huge implications for the robotics industry. It's expected to create trillions of dollars in new wealth, and it's Silicon Valley's big focus right now. So for example, I follow and write about a private robotics company called Figure AI. Using an AI brain similar to Tesla's, it has created a robot with a brain it calls Helix. Now, Helix, it can understand English. It can complete tasks without detailed instructions, including putting away your groceries. It's able to figure out which items belonged in the refrigerator versus those that are supposed to be in a drawer versus those that maybe are meant for a fruit bowl. And
Amazing.
These robots, they can collaborate both with humans and also with each other. They can work in tandem, which is a huge step.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Just wild. The average person on the street would tell you this is years away, but it's happening now.
It exists now.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why companies like Meta are making major investments into humanoid robots. Now, fortunately, most investors, they just simply haven't caught on to this trend. Out of sight, out of mind. Like, we have a chance to get in before the crowd. And in the report, I reveal my top pick.
All right. Now, you also have a second bonus report, and that one is called How to Profit from the AI Data Center Boom. How does that report tie into this?
Well, Silicon Valley is pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into data centers. They house all the infrastructure needed to power AI-based systems. Meta plans to spend up to $65 billion on data centers this year alone. President Trump's Stargate project is a $500 billion data center project. That's $500 billion, Chris.
Yeah.
And many others are spending tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. The problem is most data centers have an overheating problem. They just weren't designed to support the high power requirements of racks filled with AI semiconductors or the heat that they generate. And that's where one of my picks comes in. It's come up with a unique solution to this specific problem, and you'll get its name in my bonus report.
That's amazing, fascinating stuff. You'll also get Jeff's buy and sell alerts along with buy up to prices. And this is another big membership benefit that could help you lock in some huge potential wins. For example, a few months back, Jeff issued a sell recommendation on a stock called Credo Technology,
Yep,
right?
that's right?
That stock was up 200%. And it looked a little overheated, so he told them to sell half the position. You remember what happened next?
I do, and I'm proud of that call and the timing. Right after that, we had the DeepSeek scare, and the market hit a very rough patch. Now, fortunately, my readers, they could relax knowing that they already had the chance to lock in a big gain.
Right, and Jeff continues to do this. He is sending out the alerts, and as a member, you are going to get all of those. And then finally, got to mention this, you're going to get Jeff's 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Jeff, as you can imagine, invests on the bleeding edge, and investing in those ideas may be a little out of your comfort zone. That is possible. And to that end, Jeff is on it. He's aware of that. He is going to give you 90 days to test things out. Take the next 3 months and analyze his work. Look over the recommendations, read the special reports, give everything a good, hard look. And if at any point in the next 90 days, you're not blown away by the results, give his team a call and they'll be happy to give you a full credit of your membership fee. You'll even get to keep all of those special reports for your own. You should see a recap of everything you're getting, everything we talked about on your screen right now. Just remember, as Jeff mentioned earlier, you do have a very small time window, very little time to access all of these resources. It's a deal that's only available for a limited period of time. So click the button, lock in the special deal while you still can. Jeff, while folks are doing that, you want to launch into a Q&A?
Wonderful, yes.
Let's spend what time we've got left talking about that. And don't worry, during the Q&A, we're also going to discuss Jeff's stocks to avoid, as well as the name of your free pick, the one that we should be
considering.
considering.
Wonderful. Let's do
All
it.
right, let me get my, thank you very much, Lance. Appreciate that here. And quick reminder, Jeff cannot give out any personalized investment advice, but I promise you that we're going to try to cover as many general questions as we possibly can in the time we've got left here. So let's see here. We're getting some questions about how the service actually works. So let's just start with one of those. How does the service work? How many recommendations? And how often do you send out something to folks? Shine some light on this for us.
Well, every month we do publish an issue, and in every issue we have at least one investment recommendation over the course of the year. So we expect to put out about 12 recommendations on average in every given year. We do occasionally send out buy alerts outside of the normal publishing schedule when we see something that's particularly attractive, or if the price of the stock that we've been tracking for months of years is particularly priced well. It's got a great valuation. We might send alerts outside of our normal publishing schedule just to make sure that we're getting our subscribers in at the best possible price. And, you know, when we see a moment in a market, we might actually make, you know, 2 or 3 recommendations. And then over the course of the next several months, we'll provide more detailed research on our investment analysis for that particular stock and the industry.
Right. The point is, you're not doing this on a set schedule. You're doing it whenever conditions are right and you see an opportunity here.
For individual recommendations, that's right.
Gotcha.
We do publish the monthly issue on a very set schedule, the third Monday of every month.
Someone is also asking, how does Exponential Tech Investor differ from your other services?
Yep.
Right? I know you've launched several trading services. You got some crypto services too. How does Exponential Tech Investor differ?
Well, Exponential Tech Investor, earlier on you mentioned it was my flagship newsletter.
Yep.
I launched it in 2015. This is actually our 10-year anniversary,
Okay.
and it's where I cover really the most advanced small cap technology, sometimes biotechnology companies that have the highest growth potential. This is where much of the bleeding edge innovation is taking place. And these are companies that are demonstrating the types of exponential growth traits that I look for that have the potential to deliver such incredible returns. So these aren't the kind of companies that you would normally, read about on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. They're the ones that really require industry knowledge, the understanding of the technology, the products and services that these companies are offering, and also the trends that are taking place in the industry in terms of product or service adoption.
That's right. So that leads me to, let me ask a quick follow-up to that. Why not issue short-term trades on some of those plays too?
Well, occasionally I do, but Exponential Tech is designed for buy and hold types of investing, so long-term capital gains.
All right.
And that's because I want to get everything out of them that we can. So one of the biggest mistakes that investors often make is selling a great company too early. So let's go back to the NVIDIA. It's a wonderful example. I first recommended NVIDIA at the Bonner & Partners Family Wealth Forum back in February of 2016. And by the end of that year, NVIDIA was up 307%. Now that's a great gain.
Sure.
And most people would have been thrilled to book that, close it down for short-term capital gains. But here's the thing. A year later, the stock was up 642%. And eventually, it was up as high as 23,000%. So can you imagine the regret that you'd have if you'd sold after a month and missed out on an opportunity like that?
Yeah, that's too painful for me to think about. Huge miss. You'd have been kicking yourself for years.
100%. And a similar thing happened with AppLovin. I recommended this stock way back in 2021. I loved it at the time. Within a few months, the stock was up 44%. We could have closed it out for a fabulous gain in a very short period of time. But that would have also been a terrible mistake. I knew it had much more potential. And once the AI boom got going, guess what happened? It soared. And I recommended selling half at 386%. And since then, it soared as high as 736%. So had we sold too quickly, we would not have seen any of those gains. And that's why I don't plan on closing out these robotaxi picks immediately. We have to let the story play out.
Sure.
I mean, it'd be like going to a fancy restaurant and eating a delicious appetizer and then just leaving. You're missing out on the best part.
It makes sense. Not something that I would like to do. And I love the, I'll just call it your sell half policy. That's a nice hedge, essentially. You're locking in a gain, but you're not eliminating, the potential for even more.
That's right. And in Exponential Tech Investor, we try to get everything we possibly can out of each recommendation.
That's music to our ears. And remember, everybody, Jeff has a series of recommendations lined up and waiting for you right now. You don't want to miss these. If they're anything like his past ones, you could have a chance to see some huge returns in the very near future. And he has prepared that special deal for everyone watching right now. As I said earlier, the retail price for a 12-month membership to Exponential Tech Investor is $5,000. Today, you can get started for just a fraction of that, and you can see a full breakdown there on your screen. And best of all, as a member, you're going to get Jeff's ongoing guidance through this. He's going to send you the updates that you need, the additional picks as they come along, and a whole lot more. So don't wait. If you put this off, even for a little bit, you could end up missing out on this opportunity. So click the button on your screen. Don't let that happen to you. Lock in this deal while you still can. Jeff, we're getting some questions here about the vandalism that's being done to Tesla's cars. Can you comment on that? Does that concern you at all?
Very interesting. I'm not surprised. This is what an absolutely bizarre development. I mean, the same people that wanted the whole world to switch over to electric vehicles are now burning the electric vehicles and sending toxic chemicals and fumes into the air that we breathe. These are environmental disasters, and I think they're going to be put to an end pretty quickly.
Okay.
This is obviously a criminal act, and it will be prosecuted. And I believe that pretty soon people are going to come to their senses and realize that they're doing something that is very environmentally bad.
Right. Good question. Got another good one here. Somebody's worried about the robo-taxi launch being delayed. I asked you about that earlier, but I guess, we've seen articles saying that Tesla hasn't even started applying for the permits in places like California.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there could be the possibility of a short delay. It's not impossible that would happen, but if there is, it would be a matter of months or weeks, definitely not years. In fact, just in the last 2 weeks, Tesla received an initial permit in the state of California. So that process actually is already underway, and I fully expect as the year progresses, we're going to see a launch in California as well as in Texas. I mean, the hardest part about this artificial intelligence, this self-driving technology, autonomous technology, it's already been developed and it is working.
Right.
And let me add this, when it comes to stories about Tesla, from the media, you really need to take them with a grain of salt. There's so much spin and misinformation, especially now. I mean, I see these negative stories too. And I remember seeing one in February, as recent as February, saying Tesla's unprepared. They haven't filed any of the paperwork. Well, guess what? In March, it came out that Tesla had been doing the paperwork and they were applying for California permits back in November. As I just mentioned, they just received one and they've been working with Austin officials since last May. So almost an entire year. So remember, Tesla is secretive. It doesn't need to go out there and get kind of false press. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that nobody knows about.
Right. And one reason we're grateful to have Jeff Brown here explaining to us and uncovering all the layers of the news that are really going on, the real news out there. Another question, someone is actually wondering how advanced the research service in Exponential Tech Investor is. So do people need experience with tech stocks to be able to use your research service practically?
No, absolutely not. In fact, I would say one of the things that I really pride myself on is being able to take sometimes very complex technical topics or even things on biotechnology and explain them in ways that are simple and easy to understand. I spend a lot of time being very careful about explaining an investment thesis, about why the company is important, why its technology is important, why its products and services will be adopted rapidly in the market. I really want people to understand the investment thesis and why the company has such a great competitive advantage and why it's going to be a great investment. And so myself, my team, we spend a lot of time making sure that our investment research and our research on technology is very accessible,
right,
easy to understand, irrespective of your background.
We don't have to come to it with any expertise. You're going to share that with us. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Another question, do you focus exclusively on AI stocks? That's a good one.
No, definitely not. I have a very wide range of sectors and technologies and biotechnologies that I research week in and week out. Obviously, right now, given what's happening in artificial intelligence, this is a once in a generation advancement in technological development and technological breakthroughs. And so, of course, we're very keen on artificial intelligence and the applications for robotics like we've been talking about today. And so it's definitely a major focus of ours, but, at any given point in time, our focus can shift. As these trends shift, we will start doing more and more research in a different sector that's, at that stage, that inflection point in the industry where that growth starts to kick in. Again, our goal is to get in before it makes the front page of something like the Wall Street Journal. And so, I shift my investment focus as industry trends shift, as technological advancements occur. We shift the focus of Exponential Tech Investor. That's the beauty of having an investment research product like this, is we have the flexibility to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. And I suppose you're recommending a lot of AI stocks now, but that's only because that's what's hot right now. It's where the best opportunities are currently, but you do recommend other things as well.
Yes, definitely.
Speaking of picks,
okay,
Jeff is about to give his free one away. We have not forgotten. Thank you very much for being patient. Before we do that, Jeff's special offer is only available, just want to remind you, for a very limited time here. If you miss the deadline, the price will be higher, right? So as a member, you're going to get all of his top recommendations for this service. And then going forward, you'll get all of his guidance, all of his additional research, and a whole lot more. Don't wait. The robotaxi launch, as you said earlier, Jeff, it only happens once. Think about that. It only happens one time. You act now, you're in ahead of it. You wait, that opportunity could pass you by completely. So click that button you see on the screen, or again, you can call the number on your screen. All right, we're going to take, I think we got time for at least one more question.
Okay.
What is the time commitment for new members? How much time should they expect to spend doing this?
Well, I think it depends on how deep you'd like to go. Part of the membership gives you access to all of my past research, all of my past special reports. You have all my monthly issues, every investment recommendation that I've made. There's just, from my perspective, a treasure trove of incredible investment research to draw on. But on a monthly issue, it's pretty easy to read through a monthly issue in 15 or 20 minutes and understand an investment thesis, and special reports, probably would take 10 to 15 minutes to read through and understand. It's really not a lot of time. And of course,
right.
We always give very, very clear instructions, buy up to price, the name of the company, the ticker symbol, and it takes less than a minute to purchase a stock through an online broker. So it's really not a large commitment on a monthly basis. And if I've done my job right, the issues and my research is very interesting. It's very exciting to read, and you'll feel a lot smarter after you've read my research.
Yeah, my IQ goes up about 10 points after every conversation I have with you. So definitely, and I'm not brown nosing there. That's very true. So I think we've kept everybody waiting out there long enough. Let's talk about your picks, and let's start with the stock to avoid. We'll save the best for last. What is the name of the stock to avoid?
All right. Well, some people are not going to like this, but I have to say it's GM, General Motors.
Wow.
We actually mentioned it a little bit earlier.
Yes.
If you remember, it spent $10 billion on its acquisition of Cruise and the subsequent investments that it made in that division. And it finally threw in the towel, basically wrote it all off, has shut down its Cruise subsidiary and, maintained the small group back into the overall General Motors entity. This is a massive failure. And obviously it came at a very steep cost. GM has basically taken a step back. Their original strategy was to acquire Cruise, have Cruise launch robotaxi networks, and then those robotaxi networks would use General Motors cars.
Okay.
It was trying to create an outlet for General Motors cars, and it failed. And so now it is going to focus on its Super Cruise technology, which is a very basic, what we refer to as a level 2 form of autonomy. So basically just on major highways, you can put it into the Tesla equivalent of an autopilot mode, but it is not capable of taking a passenger safely from point to point, supervised or unsupervised, from one house to another house,
right,
or from one state to another state. It simply cannot do that. And so GM is starting over on its basically autonomous technology strategy. It needs to build from the ground up. It is years behind. I would say at least 5 years behind Tesla. And I'm probably being generous.
Wow.
And the reality is that I recently said that the killer app for the automotive industry, it's not a new design, it's not a new color, it's not a fancy steering wheel. The killer app for the automotive industry is autonomy. It is full self-driving. It is unsupervised self-driving. It's that ability, we mentioned it before, to recapture 2 months of our lives, 2 months of our lives, 7 40-hour work weeks or whatever that we spend driving ourselves around. When you've experienced full self-driving and not having to touch the steering wheel, and being able to recapture that time, or even, the ability to send your car to work for you during the day when it's underutilized and make $30,000 a year in income. That's enough to more than pay for your car payments. I mean, think about that concept. People will be able to use that income to pay for their car payments. Their cars won't cost them anything because their cars can go to work for them. That is the strategy behind Tesla. And this is why these legacy automotive makers like General Motors, they just will not be able to catch up. We're on the cusp of a radical transformation in the automotive industry and in the public transportation industry right now. GM is in trouble.
All right. So General Motors, kind of hurts to say it, and I can tell you're not taking any glee in there. It's a very serious thing. When Jeff flags a stock like this, it does pay to avoid it. GM is on the list of stocks to avoid. Now, earlier this year, Intel famously went over a cliff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people were probably caught completely by surprise. But you, Jeff, had warned about it long before. Now that we've covered a stock to avoid, what's the name of the free pick that we should be considering?
All right. Well, it is Uber. Uber is really a fantastic company that made a number of strategic moves over the last several years. It cleaned up its balance sheet, became extremely profitable. Its free cash flow is growing like crazy. And instead of investing tens of billions of dollars in developing its own autonomous technology, it's partnering with companies that will be able to employ autonomous technology to deliver fully autonomous ride-hailing types of services. And Uber is at a fantastic valuation right now, very attractive price as a company with a lot of growth ahead of it. So this is a fabulous time to invest in Uber.
Okay, Uber is the one to consider buying. Now, just want to make sure this is not one of the stocks in your new report, correct?
No, it's not. That was just a thank you to everyone that joined us today. It's a great company, but I have a few more, obviously, with far more potential than Uber. Uber is a large cap. It's a massive company. And I just can't reveal their names right here. It wouldn't be fair to my paying members, but you're going to get them all in my report.
Right. And that report can be yours if you act now. Unfortunately, folks, we're up against the clock. I want to quickly just thank Jeff for being here. And obviously, we're here because you're here. We have to thank you for joining us. Thank you to the Robotaxi for being with us as well. If you're ready to get started, all you've got to do is click the button that you see on your screen right now. And Jeff, very quickly, any last words from you?
Yes, thank you. First and foremost, I wanted to thank everyone who joined us. Thank you for your time. It's your most valuable asset. I hope that you found our discussion interesting and valuable. And I'd like to reinforce that we're just at an incredible period in time. This is a once in a generation opportunity. The development of fully autonomous self-driving technology will transform not only our own lives, helping us improve our quality of life, recapture time, but it's also going to create an entirely new industry and phenomenal investment opportunities. It'll change the public transportation markets. There's opportunity everywhere, and there's companies closely linked in this ecosystem like we discussed today that are presenting amazing investment opportunities. And one final point with technology like this, the potential that it has, we really do have so much to look forward to.
Very well said. All right, folks, if you haven't done it already, do it. Click that button you see on the screen. You will get a full recap of everything that Jeff is offering today, and you'll be able to get signed up minutes from now. For Jeff Brown, I'm Chris Hurt. So long.